Hey guys, Tom Barton from TomBartonSports.com here. We are entering Super Bowl week. That's right. Look, this is a time where legacies are absolutely made. We're going to talk about that today. It's not just a game that, okay, you get a championship. No. This is really a monumental game. And I would go as far as to say it's the biggest game in all of sports when you're talking about the legacies of certain people involved. And we will get into all of those people and how it can really change our perception of each and every one of these individuals. But mostly, we're going to talk about Matthew Stafford and Joe Burrow. Guys, if you do like this, please make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel. I could use all the subscribers. Also, go check me out at Tom Barton Sports over on Twitter. You can also comment below, and I will try to react to every single comment. So I love to have the discussion. Sports and sports topics are all about discussion. This is what I do. Make sure you guys go check that out. All right. So let's have the conversation, right? I mean, the Super Bowl is just looked at differently. You can say it's unfair. You can tell me that, it's a different kind of animal. It just is looked at differently. While we talk about championships in basketball, championships in hockey, championships in college sports, and championships in baseball, they are not as monumental as when you're talking about a championship in the NFL, and specifically a championship for quarterbacks. We have that notion that a quarterback is the most important player on any team in any sport. And that is pretty right for history, but it's so much more right now. You see how well paid they are. Patrick Mahomes making basically enough money to buy the Kansas City Royals, right? You see how important the position has evolved. The NFL has gone out of their way to make all the rules make sure that they prop up their quarterback. You can't even touch him anymore, right? This is what the NFL has done. This is what we have. So it goes to say that if you're the best player, and you're the best player at that position, then you should be able to elevate your team to a championship. And that's been the thinking all along. We often don't have conversations if we're talking about the greatest center of all time in hockey. Well, how many championships does he have? It's not usually a separation mark. It's not really a separation mark when you're talking about the great basketball players of all time. People will use that to separate away from Jordan against LeBron, who's lost a little bit. But Bill Russell has the most championships. Nobody's really saying that Bill Russell is the greatest of all time. So you start to have that conversation. You look at Major League Baseball. Baseball is very much the same. If you're talking about the greatest pitchers of all time, not many people are going up and they're saying, well, you know what? Let me see Greg Maddux against Walter Johnson and find out who won more championships. It's just the nature of the beast. Now, in all of those sports, in every one of them, you will get elevated by having championships. You'll get elevated by performing really well in the championships, but not like football. Football is a different aspect. It is your stage to do everything. It is your stage to show the world. And more people watch the Super Bowl than anyone else, any other sporting event at all. You could probably combine 2 or 3 combined to get as many people with their eyes on. So the big performances get you a big contract, get you endorsement deals, and it just brings you to that next stratosphere. So I want to talk about dynasties because dynasties are certainly formed on here. Look, I've been sitting back and I have bashed Aaron Rodgers. I've bashed Aaron Rodgers, a multiple time MVP. I've bashed Aaron Rodgers because he's tremendous in the regular season and he chokes in the playoffs. And he also has one championship, right? So you start to put him into a conversation of one championship. What about Eli Manning? Not the greatest regular season quarterback, but almost everybody's going to say, yeah, sure, absolutely a Hall of Famer. Why? He's got 2 rings. And that's how quarterbacks are absolutely driven in this space, which brings me to the 2 quarterbacks that are playing. We'll start off with the most obvious, and that's Matthew Stafford. Because Matthew Stafford's legacy is on the line here. Matthew Stafford has a selection of people that really believe that he's a Hall of Famer one way or the other. And you have a lot of selection of people that believe, you know what, Matthew Stafford, absolutely not a Hall of Famer. But that group of people that are saying absolutely not a Hall of Famer, they may be coming around with a championship. And I think that Matthew Stafford's resume is complete with a championship. Look, the guy is 34 years old, okay? So we are in an age where we're looking at Tom Brady. He'd have 10 more years. That's not realistic. right? We're looking at an age where a guy like Aaron Rodgers is playing into his late 30s. Yeah, but he also sat out the first couple of years. Remember, Matthew Stafford took a beating in Detroit. I don't think, and this is just speculation, obviously I can't see into the future, although TomBartonSports.com sometimes does, but I can't see into the future. I don't think we're going to see Matthew Stafford playing into his 40s. I don't think we're going to see Matthew Stafford playing at 38, 39 at a high level. I'm not sure we see him at 36, 37 playing at an elite level. So this is his window. And his window and his game, he's the favorite in a game that can change every conversation about Matthew Stafford. He currently ranks 12th all-time in career passing yards, 323 passing touchdowns, 49,995, just short of 50, passing yards. He's right there. He's among the greatest of all time. And you could argue with just that being top 12 that he's a Hall of Famer. Many people will. He ranks 11th in the NFL all-time career passers with 4,302 completions. Guy's been in a passing offense his whole career. You could argue that. You could argue just that alone makes him a Hall of Famer. You can also sit back and argue, look, he gave the two best seasons ever from a wide receiver, Calvin Johnson and now Cooper Kupp. Is that Hall of Fame worthy? No, but it's that extra little bit that you might need because I think Matthew Stafford, he needs a bump, and here's why I think he needs a bump. Where he sits today, I don't think he makes the Hall of Fame, and here's why. His level of success and team success has just not been there, right? I mean, he's been on the Lions, and you can overlook it. There will be people that overlook this. I get it. And there will be people that will go and talk to me in the comment section and scream at me and tell me Stafford's already in. I get it. But I don't think that it's a shoo-in that you think, okay? You've got to win at the quarterback position, something that Matthew Stafford just hasn't done. And I'm not even talking about Super Bowl guys, right? The guy is 74-90-1 in 12 seasons with Detroit. 74-9, 16 games under 500. Again, I get that it's Detroit, but it's a quarterback position, and we're talking about Hall of Fame here. We're not saying that Matthew Stafford's a bad quarterback, but let's have the conversation. He had come into this season 0-3 in the playoffs. 0-3 in the playoffs, 16 games under 500. It's a really good career. But people will absolutely sit there and not vote you into the Hall of Fame because of that. Now, all of a sudden, he's turned things around. He gets with McVay's offense, a brand new team. He goes 3. Now he's 3-3, right? He goes 3-0 in the playoffs, and he's been fantastic. He's completing 72% of his passes. He's thrown for 905 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's played remarkably well. Remarkably well. And I don't care the competition. I don't want to hear any of that. He's played remarkably well. So you could argue that this was the best season that he's ever had. He had a career high in touchdowns at 41, threw for just about 5,000 yards. This guy's always like a couple of yards short. Threw for just about 5,000 yards, 4,996 yards. He had a completion percentage of 97.2, which is his career high. He's playing his best football in an offense where we assumed he would, with complementary players that we knew he would. But now he's got to get it done. And this is where the legacy comes in. If Matthew Stafford does not win this year, okay, and does not win the Super Bowl, the naysayers will have one more thing against him. He was the favorite, right? He was at home. These are the things that are against Matthew Stafford. The guy, under 500. Matthew Stafford has done a lot in this playoffs, but he's got to finish it off. He will go down in history as the Warren Moons, the Phillip Rivers, the Dan Marinos, right? Guys that they don't have one. They don't have that ring. And very good. All three of them are very good. But I'm not sure we're going to be able to separate their career from Matthew Stafford or Phillip Rivers. Now, again, I personally think both are Hall of Famers right now, but getting into that next echelon is really important. And when you're talking about Matthew Stafford, how high can he go? I mean, you're really talking about Matthew Stafford. We're already saying, look, at 34 years old, you get a Super Bowl ring. Go look at the NFC and what the NFC is going to become after Brady is gone and maybe Rodgers is gone. The Rams will be favored again in the NFC. For the next probably 2 years, they're going to be able to keep this roster intact. So Matthew Stafford has a lot of growing to do, but he's got to get that first ring out of the way. I don't think it's a question any longer if Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer. I think he's proven that during this playoff run. And even with a loss, he got his team there. I think he's proven that. But there will still be naysayers out there. The thing is that Matthew Stafford with a loss will have people going, he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. And there will be some question if he is a Hall of Famer if he retired tomorrow, which he won't do. There will be some question. But with a win, all of a sudden we need to start having that conversation about Matthew Stafford and just how high does he go? Just where does he sit? We've had conversations about the top 10 quarterbacks, and I do this on my show a lot because a lot of people love to talk about it. And right at that 10 mark, right? I have Aaron Rodgers right about there. I'm not sure if he's, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? He's right there. Where's Matthew Stafford fit? With a win, a Super Bowl win, and what he's done this year, does he become in the conversation for top 20? I'm listening. Top 15? Potentially. Matthew Stafford can change his entire career. That's why legacies are done here in the Super Bowl. Let's talk about Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow this week, I've read a couple of tweets where people are kind of already comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, and it's a fair comparison. Look, the guy just beat him one-on-one, and they're both young, they're both charismatic. I get the comparison. And I'm reading people say, you know what, Burrow's all about winning, and he's cerebral, and Patrick Mahomes is more of a talent-laden guy. All right, okay, I could kind of understand that, but that's where we already are with Joe Burrow. Whether you think it's nonsensical or not, we are already at that point with Joe Burrow where people are looking at him, comparing him to a guy that we've anointed for the last couple of years as the end-all be-all, as the greatest quarterback in the game. Now, I still think that Josh Allen has a say in all this, right? But you're talking about that comparison, and the guy hasn't won yet. Now, if he goes out there and loses to the Rams at this young age behind that awful offensive line, and loses to the Rams at home, Rams are at home, loses to a Hall of Famer, Matthew Stafford, and loses that, I don't think it dings up his legacy at all. But if he goes out there and wins, what are we talking about? Don't we have to start to have that conversation of, wait a minute, how good can Joe Burrow be? Don't we start to then have to have that conversation about, whoa, because look, you could get there and lose and have a Marino career where we assume Burrow's going back and he never gets back, right? You can do that. You can have a Patrick Mahomes career where you only win one, right? I know he's got a long time. You can have that, but with a win, he's already there. He's already got that ring, right? Now he's got his whole career, just like Patrick Mahomes does, to chase two. Not a lot of guys with two. So this is a legacy game for Joe Burrow as well. It's a legacy game for Matthew Stafford more because he's older, because he's more than a decade older. So it's going to resonate more because we're looking at his career, looking back at what he's done. But Joe Burrow's legacy is on the line as well. And don't let that at all skew you from the fact that the Bengals are underdogs, but it's not huge underdogs. The Bengals can win this game. And if they do, that story of Joe Burrow also becomes something interesting, right? Doesn't that also craft his legacy? The underdog, everybody counted out. They were underdogs against Tennessee, underdogs against Kansas City, had to go on the road against Tennessee, had to go road against Kansas City, now had to go on the road as an underdog against the Rams, and Burrow beat it all. Not to mention, you also throw in his Heisman campaign and what he did at LSU. This guy's forming his own legacy with a win. With a loss, it doesn't ding him too much. But with a win, we're talking about face of the NFL. He's going to have some competition with Mahomes, of course, but you have to throw his name in the ring. A couple other guys going for legacies here. What a story Eric Weddle's been, right? What an absolute story. The guy was literally retired 3 weeks ago. Retired, hadn't played in 2 years, right? Guy's like, out shoveling snow and running the kids in the caravan. Look, we all do it. What a story he would be. Coming back and winning a Super Bowl after all his years and being able to jump back into the NFL. That's a cool legacy as well. You have Whitworth. Whitworth is older than both coaches, right? The tackle for the Rams is older than both coaches, looking for his ring. He played years and years in Cincinnati. I read somewhere that he's got more years for the Cincinnati Bengals than anybody on that team, right? Played more snaps for them. So you have those kind of legacies that are fun legacies. Von Miller, he could do something that you just never see at all. He could win a second Super Bowl MVP, but he's on his way to going, okay, am I one of the best defensive players of all time? Aaron Donald. A lot of people calling him the greatest defensive player of all time right now. You give him a ring, all of a sudden, a ring in a big game? I think you're going to really have conversation. LT or Aaron Donald right after that. Legacies are on the line there. Legacies are also on the line for a guy like Sean McVay, who could be the youngest head coach to win a Super Bowl. Legacies are on the line for Zach Taylor, who people, even me, I've done this on my Sports Garden show. And you guys could go check that out at sportsgarden.com. I've called him an overrated coach. Well, egg on my face, but he can change the narrative as well. Think about the futures of what they can do. Think about how long a Super Bowl win under a coach's regime takes you and what that does for your career. And then you have a couple of receivers that I really do believe that their legacies can be massively changed here. First one we're going to talk about is Ja'Marr Chase. You can argue with a Super Bowl win here that Ja'Marr Chase had the greatest rookie year of any non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. I mean, he set records, probably going to win Rookie of the Year, and a Super Bowl, and maybe a Super Bowl MVP at that. I mean, and then going up against Jalen Ramsey to do it, that will give a lot of momentum. We're talking about Burrow. Could you imagine what that is going to do for Ja'Marr Chase? What about Cooper Kupp? You know, Cooper Kupp is a guy that right now has just had the greatest year in the history of wide receivers. I know there was an extra game, but if Cooper Kupp goes out there, has a big game, Cooper Kupp goes out there and adds a ring to it, Cooper Kupp has got to be thrown into the mix of maybe you just had the greatest receiving season of all time. I think he does. I don't think it's too arguable, right? I mean, we've watched great seasons from Calvin Johnson and whatnot, but I think Cooper Kupp all of a sudden separates himself, and his legacy is the greatest receiver of all time, the greatest single-season receiver of all time. And then you have a guy like Odell, trying to rewrite history. Odell Beckham, disgruntled guy, bad dude, taking pictures on a boat and everything. Odell goes out there and he wins this championship, and you've seen him kind of remake what he wanted to be, and he wins it with LA. Odell rewrites his history as well. So there's a lot of legacies on the line here for the Super Bowl. And whether it's fair or not, we as sports fans just have elevated the Super Bowl to that degree, especially for the quarterbacks. This is a make or break game. I think that you look at the legacies and you look at this. This is not something that the coaches and players want to talk about. They don't want to have anything to do with this. They are one game at a time, and you don't worry about it. And the Bengals, they don't know what they don't know. They're so young. The Rams are probably cognizant of this, right? With Sean McVay, you don't want to go 0-2 in Super Bowls, right? You look at Matthew Stafford going, man, I don't want to be that perennial loser. These are legacy games, and the Super Bowl is more than just the Super Bowl, because we've elevated it as a society to do it. These guys have a chance to really correct their legacies. It's going to be really interesting to see who does and what the hoopla and the offseason brings to whoever does win. The Joe Burrow, the Matt Stafford, just overwhelming changing of who you are and the perception in the public eye of what you are is going to be amazing with a win or a loss. All right, guys. That's going to do it for me. I am going to have a Super Bowl preview this week, so you guys can check that out. I'm going to have it up in a couple of days. I am Tom Barton from TomBartonSports.com. Please check me out at Tom Barton Sports. If you like this, again, please subscribe and comment below. I want to hear from you Bengals fans. I want to hear from you Rams fans. How about you Detroit fans out there, right? Whoever wants to comment below, I want to hear from you guys. Please go check me out. I could use it, the subscribe button, and TomBartonSports.com. Have a very good day, everybody, and I'll see you this week.